don't try to please everybody. I mean, if you're a manager, you have to make tough decisions. There will be conflict. There will be people who won't agree with your methods. There will be people who will question your motives. So um, you just stay calm and relax if you know you're doing the right thing. Don't be affected by what people will think of you, because if you get affected by what your people think of you, then you are letting them control you.
Our topic now is line management, leadership and line management with Mr. Pyke Conde. So, Mr. Pyke Conde is actually one of the moderators of HR Shouts and Whispers, and is also, well, today he will talk about his background and then his experience in the HR world, especially with the FB communities that he's part of. And also he will give you his insights on becoming a better manager. So hi Pike, how are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm good. And yourself?
Well, I'm doing fine as well. So it's a Sunday. So
Yeah,
thank you for making yourself available. I know you've
of
been busy with
course.
your work as well.
Of course, go pa.
So anyhow, so it's been a long time as well since
Mhm.
I've seen you, but can you tell us, okay, for the benefit also of our
Uh,
viewers, what has been happening with you?
well, same as last time. Still working from home, though with a different employer already. So still doing the same things that I've done before, which is I manage projects and what I mean. If there's anything that I should name about COVID is, it has proven that working remotely is possible in most industries. So ayun, so I get to attend to my domestic responsibilities as well.
Well, you
And
have a nice setup there at home.
yeah, well, yeah, I set it up for gaming, but I've put it to better use by using it for work. So hindi na ako nagpo-provide from the company. I'd rather, use two big screens and a faster computer. So, yeah.
Yes. So for when you do work from home, okay, so there are some technical specs because I've also learned
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah.
your computer should be at least 8 gigabyte RAM. Okay, so yon, at least, okay.
Oh,
And then there are some work. Well, there are some kinds of work. Okay, you really
uh,
need to be able to multitask. So,
yeah.
investing on the right kind of equipment is really a big deal. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
And
And then
sorry, I've future-proofed it a bit. So, ayun, so naka 32 gig siya na RAM, yung mga ganun. So, ayan, so and the processor that I can use for a few years.
yes, kasi
Mhm.
it's one of the reasons as well. So I've become more technologically focused, okay,
Mhm.
because I also shifted and I went back to the corporate world, okay, in
Uh-huh.
July. And I learned a thing or two with equipment.
Uh-huh.
So, like you, I actually invested on an M1 Apple. So that's what I
Mhm.
use. I also have a widescreen computer.
Uh, yeah.
Oh,
So, yun. So far, ano naman, okay siya. Because of work, I'm able to maximize what I've invested in sa computer.
yeah.
So, especially with my line of work, we use a lot of tools. So, um, it pays to have more than one screen and, equipment that's powerful enough to process what you need.
So
Right.
we have some viewers coming in. So
Uh,
yeah, we'll greet them. Okay, so okay, guys. Okay, so thank you for watching us.
mhm,
And there's Anne Mary. Okay, and then Mr. J.M. Matienzo of Arriva is watching us today.
mhm.
So there. So anyway, can you because I know that you've been in operations and
Mhm.
then you've been active with Philippines HR and then in our FB community, which is HR
Mhm.
Shouts. Okay, but can you tell us more about your involvement? So paano ka napadpad dito being a moderator and why did it interest you? Kasi operations tapos HR.
Yeah, well, kasi if there are people working under you, it, I mean, it's a good thing to know what the employees' rights are as well as the employers.
Mm-hmm.
And kasi there was a time before where um, any memo or show cause that has to be issued to people, it has to go through HR PAC for it to be validated before you can issue the document, the memo. So parang it has been an organizational drag. So this got me interested to know more about HR matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yun. So, kumbaga, before it gets to HR, if it really has to go through HR, na-filter ko na at least on my end.
Yes. So it's really very so it's also very beneficial to have like a very holistic view. Okay, if you're a line manager or in operation, so you know that you know what due process is.
Yeah. Yeah. So until I developed a personal interest in it, that I got to be good enough in some aspects to give advice to other people as well.
Yes. So anyhow, okay, so we prepared something today, but
Mm.
I have a question for you. So
Uh,
is there such a thing? Okay, so people are quite confused. Okay, what is an operations manager and what is a project manager? Can you
mm.
differentiate that for us, Pike?
Yeah, well, based on my experience, operations management is, well, obviously you are in charge of the entire department and you are in charge of everyone's performance. So you are accountable for the overall productivity of the department that you're in charge of. While in project management, your job is to get teams together to work on a project. Um, you you represent the client when dealing with the development team,
Mm-hmm.
and you represent the development team when you're talking to the client. So yeah, so far my transition from operations management to project management really wasn't as difficult as I expected initially, because you still get to use the management skills that that I acquired from operations management, but this time I'm managing something other than people.
Yeah, the process or the
Yeah, the process,
and then the progress of a project.
yes, and the phases of the project, how each phase can be done according to um, the agreed specifications with the client and in a timely manner.
So, okay, for those who are also in recruitment, okay, and those who are applying for jobs, okay, so like how much would a project manager actually earn in a month?
Well, it will. I mean, when I was browsing for project management jobs, um, there really is a big difference depending on the company and depending on the nature of the projects that you'll be
Mhm.
handling. So it ranges. There are openings that start from 40 to until 150.
Oh yeah. So it depends really on the scale of the project and the
Yes.
complexity of the project.
Yes, and the credentials and the background that they're looking for. Kasi in project management, you must be knowledgeable with the agile methodology. Other companies look for PMP certified project managers. Ganun.
Oh.
So it'll also depend on the training that you've gone through.
Yes. So actually, that's one thing also that HR should learn. It's about project management or process
Mhm.
management. Okay, because things should be well systematic in an organization, especially the people related processes.
Yes.
So anyhow, okay. So we've prepared something. Okay, but
Uh,
okay, so there's another question. Okay, what about so you've been in operations for a while, okay, so what are the common misunderstandings of operations manager or people with HR, and how can you how can you what can you advise how to resolve them?
um, to me kasi, there are a lot of people in operations that just because something is unfair, they think it's illegal already. But in our laws, whether it's criminal or labor, unfair doesn't always mean it's illegal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, and also there are times where people from HR they talk to people in operations in a manner where parang alam na nila yung sinasabi nila. Parang ikaw, Chris, I can talk to you with the assumption na naiintindihan mo na yung sinasabi ko, and I can also talk to you in a manner where I'd explain things to you like you're a 6-year-old.
Well, I'll just use the word. So I've been in HR, and I'm now in line management.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But um through the years I've shifted, okay, work,
Mhm.
okay, from operations to HR back and
Mhm.
forth. Okay. So that's my career.
Mhm.
And so I've heard all sides,
Mhm.
and that there is an impression that HR can be first condescending. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the word. So condescending, meaning the terms that they use
Uh-huh.
well, of course, there's the tone, and then
Uh-huh.
there's also how you talk to people, and
Uh-huh.
the overall impression is they're condescending. Yon.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
second is hindi siya well, they don't they don't have this skill of active listening. Oh,
Who? HR or operate?
HR.
HR.
Kasi first is kasi when you're, for example, you are asked about, ma'am, unfair naman ito.
Mhm.
Okay, so ma'am, unfair naman itong ano na to, policy na to. HR would be on the defensive, and
Mhm.
this, yung magbibigay na ng mga examples in the past ng mga
Mhm.
transgressions, kaya nagkaroon ng policy na ganyan.
Mhm.
However, that's a little bit weird, okay? Kasi remember that this person that you're talking to, hindi naman siya yung nag-commit noon, 'di ba?
Mhm.
Maybe that person doesn't really understand the rule. So, you just have to explain it in a way na hindi rin naman personal yung dating sa kanila. Kasi imagine, ganito yung tono ko. Kasi kaya ganyan yan, kasi ang dami-dami ditong nagvo-violate ng palaging mga tardy. Eh yung kinakausap mo, hindi naman siya natatardy. So that's one example. Oh. Parang ganun na kaagad yung sagot mo. So it's called kasi, well, first is it's not really being empathetic. It's just trying to explain why certain things are that, you do not insult a person for me. So, ganun lang yon. But the other side naman, there are other employees naman na pasaway. Diba? So, yon. So, minsan, ang HR, they just have to be mindful of the context. So, when they explain, they can explain it, na akma doon sa tinatanong ng tao. So, that's how I define active listening.
Yeah, and another din kasi is, let's say, there's this person from operations and parang may ginawa sa kanya yung parang he was about to be reprimanded for not following a process. So, pag nagpunta yung tao from operations to HR, parang HR has to decipher yung process na, yung kumbaga habang kinikwento nung tao from operations sa HR, yung nangyari. Parang jargon ang dating.
Oh yeah. Like
yung sa HR.
Oo. Kasi may mga, like for example, issues on compensation. Okay, like, what is total rewards? What is EVP? Mga acronyms or mga ganon. So, relate ako dyan kasi when I started out, I didn't start out in HR. I wasn't even in management. I was a copywriter and I was like you, I was like heading a team and then madaming mga jargon and madaming mga legal, mga jurisprudence na yung sinabi sa akin. So parang ako, ano ngayon hindi naman nasagot yung tanong ko, di ba? So relate ako doon. Kasi parang 15 minutes na siya nag-explain, nag-tune out na ako. Yun yung nangyari. So what I did, like you, nag-ano na rin ako. I enrolled myself in Ateneo Leadership and Management Development Program. They didn't have an HR program. But kasi ang daming jargon na sinabi. Alam mo yung productivity ng tao, blah, 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 mga ganon. May TQM ba yan? Dapat TQM ang approach mo. Ganon yun. Ako naman, ano yung TQM? Ako kasi, even now, okay, pagka nag-acronym ka sa akin, pag hindi ko naintindihan, tatanungin ko, anong ibig sabihin nun? So that's the kind of person I am. Pag hindi kita naintindihan, anong pakiulit? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng TQM? Kasi pag Google search mo yan, ang dami lumalabas, diba? So, yun. And, in communication, it's basic. You need to spell out the acronym because kahit sa Toastmasters sinasabi yan, don't assume that people know what the acronym is, okay? And it's actually being a snob, diba? Parang, dami-dami mong alam. Parang ganon. So, parang iakma lang natin yung sagot natin doon sa context. Yun yung, kasi hindi natin alam, I'm not even sure if it's active listening, yung scale na yan, but you have to really know what's being asked. So, either, kung hindi mo naintindihan yung question, you can make a follow-up question. Diba? So, yun. So, that's basic. Kaya merong sinasabi natin clash between HR and operations kasi they're speaking different languages. Ganun lang yun. Okay, pero hindi naman sa lahat ng bagay may clash because there are other companies, okay, yung HR at operations are aligned. Yeah. So, well, that's the saga of operations and HR, day-to-day saga. So people are lining up and piling in Pike. So,
Mhm.
Lee, Mr. Lee Bang. So he's been following our FB Live. Hi to you. Okay. And then, well, Ken is also among the audience. Okay. He's just attending to his family this weekend. So that's why he's not here with us.
Okay.
So anyhow, okay. So we're talking about leadership and line management. Okay. So ito namang another term. What is line management? Pike,
Mm,
what is a line manager?
um, or to me, it could be a lot of things. It could be parang, um, first is siguro let's refer to uh, what it really means in kumbaga dictionary.
Oo.
Sige.
Kasi
Sige.
lahat, yan yung jargon na yan. Oh, line manager
Uh,
ba yan? Oo.
uh, Yan.
So,
So, kumbaga parang, I mean, to cut it short, it's somewhat, kumbaga parang, it could be a supervisor, it could be an operations manager. To me, it's somebody who ensures that everyone is doing their job
yes.
and doing it correctly.
Yes. So, yeah, so this is a person, okay,
Mhm.
that's, directly, okay, handling the person. That's the line manager.
Mhm.
So, it can be a team leader, okay?
Mhm.
So, team leaders, especially team leaders, they're actually called line managers kasi direct yung pagka
Yeah.
nakita mo dun sa organizational chart.
Mhm.
Okay, so Pike, I will just give the audience some overview about this, okay, these terms. So
Mhm.
I will just share my screen so that we would be able to contextualize our explanations. Okay, so
Okay.
usually, okay, so let me just share screen. So in our organizations, okay, usually we have an org chart, and then our org chart actually uh, knows, I mean, what we know of org chart. So usually it looks like that. Okay. So somebody, there's a boss, and then the reporting lines have been outlined. So this
Mhm.
is what you call a top down management style. It's actually the norm.
Mhm.
Okay, it's called so there's a boss, and then like a vice president, okay, or the president of the company, and then under him are two managers, or assistant vice president, and then under them, okay, there's another layer. So that's how what a table of organization is, okay, in a company. Then managers, okay, actually managers in the company, there are a lot of people. Okay, so you have your upper management, you have your middle managers, and you have your lower managers. Okay, so but we don't call them lower managers, we call them like the team leader, assistant manager, the foreman, the shift manager. Then you have your middle managers. Okay, so they're in the organization, because maybe the way it was sectionalized, okay, the way the table organization was created, and usually these are regional or plant managers, so that's what you call middle managers. Now when you're talking about the C's, okay, like the CEO, CFO, COO, CTO, VP, that's what you call upper management.
Mhm.
So but they're all leaders in your organization. So, nagkakatalo na lang yan doon sa first is yung decision making,
Mhm.
okay, and then access
Yeah.
of, okay. So, for example, you're a team leader, you only have access and a certain degree of decision making. Like,
Mhm.
for example, syempre, ikaw yung nagfa-file ng leave, pagka nag-file ng leave, ikaw yung nag-approve, di
Mhm.
ba? And then with money, you don't really have, I mean, you don't
Yeah.
really have signing privileges, etc. But
Yeah.
you make decisions. Yes.
Yeah. So, kumbaga, parang if you're a team lead, parang you don't have budget authority, you don't have the authority to hire and fire.
That's correct. You have
Yeah. So,
recommend. mandatory powers.
Yeah, so kumbaga parang your job purely is to oversee the performance of the people who report to you.
Yes. So actually, that's the hierarchy in the company. And of
Mhm.
course, you have the staff. Okay. So those are, well, the people that do the
Like,
everyday work, okay, or specialized work. Now, the reason that we have this episode is so there's always like, there's always a question on who are the leaders in the organization. So given that, okay, as long as you have like a lead, syempre, like it's built in, okay, built in your job description, in your title. But, let's go. So I wanted to just show you this. Okay, so this is Henry Mintzberg. I've been reading him. Okay, and then he has a book. Managers, okay, are more important. I mean, the experience of being a manager is important than an MBA because nowadays, okay, especially with the pandemic,
mhm,
ako, honestly, there are some situations, parang mapapaisip ka kung, wait, teka, hindi ko alam to, di ba? So,
mhm,
how do you, deal with a certain situation? And sometimes it's faster if the manager is more experienced.
mhm.
Kasi yung
Yeah.
iba, they have the notion na punta lang ako, magti-training lang ako. I mean, being in a training program, okay, and then investing in training is good. However, okay, you have to actually practice it so that your experience becomes richer.
Yeah.
Gets ko, yun. So,
Mhm,
yun lang naman yung sinasabi ni Henry Mintzberg sa libro na to. And Henry Mintzberg is actually a TED Talk speaker. He's also a professor, a Canadian professor. Now, look at this Spike, okay? Ang
mhm.
daming roles ang managers, okay?
Ah,
So, of course, the higher you are in the organization, okay, the more you will be exposed to these roles, okay? So, you have your interpersonal roles as a manager, 'di ba? Meron kang function ng liaison, okay? Of course, being a leader of a bigger, larger group in the organization. And then you have informational roles and decision-making roles. Dito sa interpersonal category, okay, ito yung when it comes to relationships, okay? And then one of the things that is always talked about is the manager being the liaison person. So if you are an operations manager or a team if you are a team manager, okay, or a section manager, you always have to liaise with internal and external contacts.
mhm.
Yon. So that's the first level of the interpersonal category. And
Yeah.
then, of course, leadership, being a leader is there. And then, of course, yung mga ceremonial uh, mga events, okay, or ceremonial tasks, okay, of being a figurehead. Like, for example, pagka, you want if like during you want to you want to congratulate somebody for a job well done, okay, so that's being ceremonial kasi you make it an event para people will cherish it better, and then of course parang inculcate in them,
Mhm.
having to achieve something. So these are the categories, okay, and then informational, okay, a spokesperson, being a spokesperson for certain things, okay, for your people to HR, and if you're an HR manager of the management to people, diba? So ito yung informational dimension. And then yung decisional category. And then ito, the reason I actually focused on this reading because yung disturbance handler. So ikaw yung
Mhm.
tiga-ayos ng gulo, okay?
Ah,
And then as well as negotiator. So Mint's work just says that if you're a manager in the organization, you have different roles, okay?
mhm.
And you
Yeah.
don't just focus on one because that will not make you an effective manager.
Yes.
So
That's why they always say if you're in management, you wear different hats.
Yes. And then you have to know the context, and
Mhm.
you be able to syempre para alam mo your understanding of the context and then the situation is needed
Mhm.
so that you can have the more appropriate, you can use the appropriate hat.
Yeah.
Kasi 'di ba, iba
Uh,
pala yung ano, mamaya ano, what is needed pala is you being a disturbance handler or manager, okay?
mhm.
Eh ang ginagawa mo, ano ka, nagiging nag-allocate ka lang ng resources. Like number one, okay, like cool, parang nag-aaway sila sa ano, for yung mga like communication allowance, etc.
Mhm.
Okay, you suddenly just say, dapat may communication allowance. That's being a resource allocator. But what you should be doing is managing the being a disturbance manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, yun. You should go into the problem and then, ask more questions and maybe investigate more. Ganon. So
Yeah.
anyway, Spike, how about you? Okay, so
Mm.
because you've been also like a manager for a long time, what are your views on leadership?
Well, um, to me, leadership is it's a skill. I mean, you must. It's a skill to influence people. And sadly, there are some companies who promote people to leadership roles for the wrong reasons. Kasi, so halimbawa, in the industry that I was from, if the person, let's say, has good productivity, has perfect attendance, and um, good client relations, parang pero wala namang but just because of those numbers, they promote that person to a leadership role kahit wala naman siyang leadership skills.
Yes.
So
So
so for me, yeah, so for me, parang you just set this person up to fail because you took him away from what he's good at and you moved him into something that will require skills that he doesn't have, or at least not yet.
are some people, okay,
Mhm.
dahil friend, dahil naging
Yeah,
barkada.
yeah. So, ayun. So, kumbaga, parang nangyayari, si, because of his inability to influence or to lead the team to where they should go to, um, the entire team is set up to fail.
So, being a leader actually,
Mhm.
sometimes there are two views kasi. So,
Uh,
will you promote somebody based on skill? Like, siya yung pinakamagaling na programmer.
mhm,
So, dapat maging manager na ba yun? 'Di ba?
mhm,
Yung mga
mhm.
ganon. And then there are some naman, it's based on other skills, okay?
Uh,
Softer skills, okay? But I believe that you prepared something for us about leadership and line management.
yeah. So, yeah, I'll be sharing my screen. Chris, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, for leadership, um, so for me, leadership is the ability to bring a group of people to a place where they wouldn't normally go to by themselves. And this takes respect from your team members, and respect is earned through the demonstration of qualities such as honesty, integrity, and upholding the standards you expect from your team members. So, like what I've mentioned earlier, leadership is the ability to influence people to do what's right. So you can do this by way of making them understand how the business goes, what the repercussions are if they don't do well, and and you can do that by being a good example. So, um, I mean, like. what's mentioned earlier, this takes respect from your team members. And to be able to gain their respect, uh, you must be a model for them. So,
So there are like ways to earn a earn a team's respect kasi. So
yeah.
may mga dimension yan, okay? So there are
Mhm.
some cultures, okay, or organizational cultures. You have to be technically good. Diba? Like for example,
Yeah.
sales, okay? So
Mhm.
you can't be a sales manager if you yourself you can't make a sale. So
Yeah.
yun, mga ganon. So
Mhm.
respect, you earn the respect and you're able to influence people in the organization. So
That's right.
that's the dimension that
Mhm.
you're a leader, you're a good leader if people also are mahanga sa iyo kasi they admire you for something that
Yeah.
di ba, something that you're good at. So, yun
Mhm.
yung sinasabi nila na parang there's like an X factor.
Mhm.
Oo, kasi this one is observe, okay, and then this one is experience and somehow cannot be quantified, di ba?
Yep. That's true. So, kaya nga there were times na I have to choose between a person who's good at what he does and who, let's say, a top performer, and the person who just has so-so numbers pero may leadership siya. So parang it's something that it's a tough decision to choose from.
Yes. So
Yeah.
sinasabi kasi nila this one is a soft skill, but I
Mhm.
would actually just use the word essential. So being
Mhm.
able to persuade and influence people is parang it's something that you can learn. Of course
Mhm.
they can actually can si Ken Somera, we can Ken Somera can help you with this one. Okay, even
Yeah.
George Ramos, but what I can say is you also it's your natural ability to be able to communicate.
Yeah. Okay. So for the next, this is empathy. So, for having empathy makes you an infinitely better manager since it improves your ability to help and support your team members at the times they need it most. So if someone comes to you and says they are experiencing difficulties either at work or in their personal life, being able to empathize instantly puts you in a stronger position to understand the problem and help find a solution. So usually kasi in empathy, um, this is this is not just applicable to customer service, where most training modules tell you now you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes. Pero if you're a manager, your team members are your customers. So you have to look at what they're struggling with from their level able to be able to have a better understanding of their struggles. So you cannot solve you cannot solve what they're having problems with if you're looking at their problems at your level. You have to see their problems at theirs.
Mhm. Like being able to, see things in their shoes, parang gano'n na nga.
Mm-hmm.
So, kasi usually, managers, an example would be like, 'di ba, yung siyempre these days, 'di ba, yung mga tao, they need to take leave kasi sometimes
Mm-hmm.
their family members, they actually acquired COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So, kailangan, and then it's something, it has to do with parang being empathetic, like you're
Mm-hmm.
able to balance the task and
Yeah.
then being able to say yes to that leave. Parang yun yung
Mm-hmm.
example ng being empathetic.
Yeah. Totoo. Okay. So for the next, for the next, good communication. So effective communication is essential at every level of business, from the very top all the way down to the new recruits and junior team members. Often, good communication in the line manager role is about listening rather than dominating conversations and telling your staff what to do. So, uh, good communication doesn't always mean how good or eloquent you are when getting your point across. So it also means getting where the other person is coming from, and I at some point identifying their nuances, yung mga hugot nila kung saan nila, I mean kung saan pinahuhugutan yung mga sinasabi nila.
Hugot.
I mean, yung nuances kasi, di ba, parang um, minsan they don't say it directly, but if you parang dun sa sinasabi nila, they're not saying it directly, but you know where it's getting to.
Yeah.
Parang,
So it's the ability to fill in the gaps, diba?
Yeah.
Like you're able to parang put two and two together. Ito na to. Parang ito talaga yung kailangan niya.
Right. So parang you'll be able to identify na. I mean, kaya nga when I was with operations, parang doon na-identify kung sino yung mga potential attrition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also with good communication, Pyke, okay, this also means asking questions.
Yeah.
Hindi kailangan like declarative sentences yung sinasabi mo. You should also be able to ask the right questions para you can really figure out, okay, what's needed to be done.
Right. Totoo yun. Asking questions, especially with my role now with project management. I mean, there are times where you have to ask seemingly never-ending whys to get to the bottom of what's going on.
Oo. Kasi kadalasan, ito, yung sinasabi ng mga staff, okay, bakit ma'am makulit kayo magtanong ng question? Kasi sabi ko, minsan kasi, I want to figure out why, kasi yung communication namin ngayon, it's in a GC. So, for a person to pose as a question, di ba simple sentence lang siya?
Yeah.
Ibig sabihin, meron na siya, siguro may pinagdaanan to na situation, tapos nag-post siya ng question. Kaya I'm always asking yung follow-up. May follow-up question ako. Kasi like sabihin sa'yo, paano po pag si client gusto niya ng discount? Yun yung question. So, I've learned na maybe hold back na lang muna sa answer. Tanungin ko muna kung bakit gusto ng client ng discount. Ano ba yung napag-usapan ninyo? What was your discussion about? And why did it lead to that question by the client? Yun yung sinasabi ko na wag muna, I just hold back first. Hindi ko muna sasagutin na, bigyan mo ng 10% discount, 20% discount. Hindi muna ako magsasalita ng gano'n. Gusto ko muna malaman kung bakit.
Tsaka kasi, meron kasing pag nagtanong ka, sasagutin ka, but the answer you were given doesn't really answer the question. So halimbawa, bakit hindi umabot sa deadline? Kasi kulang sa tao. Bakit kulang sa tao? Kasi maraming ginagawa. Bakit maraming ginagawa? Hindi ba natapos yan kahapon? Yung yun, yung parang you ask the whys no matter how many it takes just to get to the answer na hindi ka na kailangan mag-why ulit kasi ito talaga yung nangyari.
You want to whittle, parang fina-funnel mo kung ano talaga yung root cause. So actually, there's a reason, guys, okay, so our viewers, line managers or managers don't just do that because gusto ka lang kulitin. It's what you call yung mga root cause analysis, okay?
Yeah.
So that's actually a framework. Kaya they ask why, because they want to trim down and then whittle down to the very cause of why the problem occurred. Hindi lang yan nangungulit.
Kasi parang some people think parang misconstrue them as parang nitpicking o kaya
personal.
Parang hinihintay kang hindi makasagot. Parang mga gano'n. So,
Oo.
ayun. So, kumbaga, syempre, you have to understand that you're answerable to your line managers and your line managers are answerable to somebody else. So, which is why he has to get to the bottom of what went on.
And uh, somehow, okay, your conflict resolution, okay,
Mhm.
it would rest on communication.
Yeah, totoo.
Mm. Kasi you would have to go through the process of asking why. Actually, meron pa akong isang reminder then sa mga staff, not
Mhm.
just with, those working with me, but those who ask me questions on HR Shouts and Whispers. When you
Mhm.
ask a question, it has to be detailed. Yung who, when,
Mm-mm.
where, what, why. Diba?
Ah,
Dapat kumpleto yon. Kasi pag hindi kumpleto yung, ano yun yan, tawag doon 5 hours.
mhm.
5 hours and, 1H of the English language. Pag hindi
Ah,
kumpleto yon, mahirap focus on a solution. Okay, kasi
mhm.
masyadong malawak, 'di ba? Ang daming mga possibilities pag hindi kompleto yung details.
Totoo. So, ayun. Yun. So, anyway, I'll go on to the next. So, organization. So, with teams of people to lead, resources to manage, results to measure, and numerous other jobs to do, the line manager role can be hugely complicated. Being organized is essential if you want to make the most effective use of your time and keep your team functioning smoothly. So, well, this is true because line managers or all managers, like what is said earlier, they wear different hats. So that means they do different things. And sometimes 8 hours of work is not enough to call it a day to be able to do everything. And a lot of times, if you're a manager, and even if you plan your day before it starts, hindi nasusunod because of something unexpected that comes up. So, ayun. So, there was a time, Chris, na
Mhm.
uh, I always have three notebooks with me. One is something that I use to take down everything when I attend meetings. And then the other is a to-do list. And then the third is yung mga concerns ng mga tao na they brought up to me, which I have to address also. So, for me, it's just my way of keeping things organized, and I devote time to do each of them each day for each day. So
Mhm.
so let's say for 2 hour for the first hour of my day, I'll be reading and responding to emails, and then another hours to study how we did yesterday, and then for the next is to see how people are doing, and so on. So, and it's just part of, my way of being organized when I was with operations.
Actually, it's good that you mentioned, okay, your
Mhm.
notebooks, okay, because not many people do that. But they actually use Excel, okay, to track
Mhm.
things now, okay. So, but ako ang preferred ko pa rin is, I also have two notebooks with me. So, one
Yeah.
is actually the to-do list,
Uh-huh.
and then I have actually a work diary. So, a work
Uh-huh.
diary, it's actually just this is like my notebook, okay.
Mhm.
And then my work diary, it's actually I just write things, significant things that happened during the day,
Mhm.
and then some observations that like for example, employee A, okay, has a tendency to be absent on a certain
Mhm.
day, yung mga ganon. That's why I remember those things. And also with my use of time, I also like organize it. Like when I answer emails, it will be at the start of the shift or the
Mhm.
day. And then I do most of my coaching work or follow up work with my team. Okay, after doing my emails, and then I have certain clients on that are I've assigned to myself. So that's how I organize my day.
Yeah. So yun nga kahit na Well, yeah, I heard of people who do it in Excel. Kaya lang kasi parang even digital age na naman na nung naging operations manager. So, so kumbaga parang I still, parang it's easier pag sinusulat mo kasi and it sticks to your mind kapag sinulat mo
Yes.
kasi.
I
So,
agree with that. When you
yeah,
write it, you tend to remember it. Kasi
yeah.
visually, parang natitrain yung mata mo. Tapos parang visually, may image siya na ito yung listahan mo.
Yeah, oo nga. So, ganun. Okay.
So to young managers, I suggest, okay, I know that you've been using your laptop, but it's really more effective to have a notebook, a real notebook.
Mhm. Yeah, notebook lit, ano. Ayan. Anyway, on to the next. It's trust. So this is really very important. One of the important things for me. Managers must be willing and able to take on certain responsibilities themselves, but it's equally important to show trust in your team members and delegate important tasks, as well as simply being an efficient use of the human resources at your disposal. Trusting people with responsibility supports professional development and increases job satisfaction, reducing the risk of staff turnover. So, so to me, I mean, syempre, I mean, obviously, when if you're a leader, people should be able to trust you, but it also helps them if you entrust them with responsibilities. So, kumbaga, parang, syempre, uh, it helps develop them to do something else. Um, Parang it's an added skill and it's parang it uplifts your ego if you're trusted with something kasi. I mean, that's just me. Pero,
When you feel that you're trusted,
mhm,
it's a good feeling, okay, and then it's a
yeah,
good motivator to actually excel in the
mhm,
organization, diba?
yeah,
So it's more positive, okay? It's
uh,
the effects are more positive. And
uh,
organizations that are long lasting, okay, and
mhm,
thrive under, these circumstances, these very negative circumstances, are organizations that, have this kind of atmosphere.
yeah. Tsaka ano if you're able to, let's say, if you're given a responsibility to do something that's outside your job description, parang you develop a skill that makes you, parang, I'm not sure if the correct term would be, uh, what do you call this, Chris? Yung,
Nagsha-shadow.
indispensable.
Yeah, indispensable.
Yeah. So, ayun. So, kaya lang kasi, for managers, be careful when you delegate responsibilities to your team members kasi there are some people who are very particular with their job description.
Yes, I encountered that.
Mm,
So there are people na, okay, they would, syempre, during recruitment pa lang, they would
mm,
look for the job description.
mm,
And then you just have, for me, yeah, I've encountered that. Kasi the way I trained myself, I took on other responsibilities as well. Yung
mm,
I was not really conscious of my job description.
mm,
But, sometimes you have to be careful, okay,
mm,
as a manager, you have to explain why you're
mm,
doing it. Kasi some people, they just want, parang feeling nila you are taking advantage of them when they
yeah.
do work outside of the job description.
Yep.
Usually, the demographic kasi, usually lang pero hindi tayo nag-generalize. Kasi you have to be, that's why you have to observe. Okay, so
Mm,
there are certain personalities, yun yung feeling nila, okay?
mm,
And then there are also certain age groups, okay, in
mm,
the organization.
yeah.
Yun din ang feeling nila. So
Mm,
you have to be consistent in explaining why you're doing these things. Okay, it's part of
yeah.
your learning, it's part of your it's part of your development, and I'm trying to
Mm,
challenge you. Parang ganon.
yeah. Kasi parang if you hindi mo na-explain mabuti, pinagawa mo lang sa kanya, ang tatawag sa'yo nung I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term, Chris, pasa load.
Pasa load. Oo.
Ito naman si boss, pasa load. Trabaho niya ipapasa sa akin.
Oh, so you just have to define. You have to you have to explain in meetings where you're doing it. Yun. Oo. Kasi like, for example, sabihin mo, ito yung event, I will entrust this to you, okay, para ma-develop, para ma-challenge ka. Okay. Pero, as a manager, you have to also keep tabs on the progress of the project para hindi naman talaga pasa-load.
Oo. Oo naman.
Kasi kaya lang naman siguro nila iniisip na pasa-load kasi i-delegate mo sa kanya tapos biglang magli-leave ka. That's
kaya nag-stay sila tapos ikaw para makabonda ka.
So dapat as a manager sinasabayan mo rin sila para hindi ka rin hindi kasi may yung in another company, okay, earlier, meron kaming pinag-uusapan, ang tawag namin si super supervisor. Kasi ang gagawin niya, ipapasa niya yung load. Ito yung may, 'di ba, may workload. Papasa niya yon sa lahat. Tapos bigla siya magli-leave.
Okay naman. So, yun nga So, kaya parang may mga tao who, kaya be careful when you do this. I mean, make sure na the person is willing, is up for the challenge.
And then, so this one can be a coaching point, okay? So yung openness ng tao to take on additional tasks. So there are, but Pyke, yung mga millennials ngayon, makikita mo aggressive sila nagvo-volunteer. So for me, this actually working with millennials and younger people, okay? Parang you should, kasi di ba that's why yesterday we had an episode about youth action and then working with millennials because there are really myths that circulated about young people and their work habits. But you would be surprised, okay? So far naman, with young people, sila pa yung aggressive na nagvo-volunteer for workload. That's my experience in the past 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So on to the next. Proactive thinking. As a manager, you must be willing to take ultimate responsibility for any failures or mistakes in your team. One of the best ways of assuming this responsibility and reducing the risk of serious problems impacting the business is spotting them before they occur. So, Chris, may napanood akong movie before, and one of the lines that natandaan ko doon is, in leadership, it's always your fault.
Of course.
So while, kaya kumbaga, parang as a leader, you must find thinking ahead and being able to solve issues before they become problems.
Of course, kasi yun nga yung sinasabi nila na you have to anticipate and you have to, kasi kung baga na-imagine mo na yung scenario, meron ka ng solusyon before it ever happens. Kasi mahirap kasi like in this very fast-paced environment, and then of course because of COVID pa, things are parang magnified pa. So, ang nangyayari kasi, you must be able, that's why you should have your time to reflect and meditate. Kasi, minsan, hindi ka nakakapag-isip when you're at work. You can do it like maybe just, hindi naman the whole night, no? Parang maybe just 30 minutes or 10 minutes to reflect. look at your notes. That's why having a notebook is very valuable. Kasi what I do, all the notes that I have, mga keywords lang kasi yung nilalagay ko doon,
Mm-mm.
not sentences. Okay.
Mm-mm.
I just reflect, and then the next day, alam ko, nasa utak ko na yung scenario. So pagka nangyari yung problem, may solusyon na ako. So I
Ah,
think that's the key. That's the key. 'Di ba? There are many managers. There are some managers na akala mo, uy, ang galing niyang mag-isip, ang bilis.
ah,
Hindi mo
wala din.
alam, kagabi pa siya nag-isip.
Ah, ah, Naisip niya na yan. So, ayun. Even if ano nga even if let's say tinanong ka niya and uh, I mean, most of the time managers, when they ask you a question, alam na nila yung sagot. They just want to know if you know the answer too.
Yes. And then they want to know how you feel about that answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so for the last one, decisiveness. Making decisions, often hard ones, is another fundamental part of being a line manager. You can feel confident you're doing a good job if you're accepting responsibility for making the most difficult decisions, and your judgment more often than not leads to positive results for the business. So, to me, if you're a manager, um, there are some tough, unpopular decisions that you have to make. So, kumbaga, parang let's say you have to change a process, and a lot of people are resistant to changes kasi doon na sila nasanay, and then babaguhin mo yung process to make to make it more efficient. So, kumbaga, parang um, you have to stick your decision, have something to back that decision up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, actually, yung being decisive kasi, so, there are a lot of people nahihirapan mag-decide
Mhm.
because they don't have the facts. So, I
Mhm.
think that's one. And then, I think the way to solve that, or the way to go about that is to know more about the business
Yeah.
and then understand your process better so that you
Mhm.
can make faster decision. Kasi yung decisiveness is how firm you are with your
Mhm.
decisions.
Yeah. And there are some managers then uh, who are having difficulty making tough decisions kasi ayaw nila ng conflict. Ayaw nilang may masabi yung tao sa kanya. Parang um, alam niyang maraming magagalit sa kanya dahil sa decision na to. Pero syempre, um, you have to, kailangan nilang i-explain sa mga tao, this is that decision will be in the best interest of the company or the people.
So, yeah, tough decisions. Okay,
Tough
so
decisions.
what was the toughest decision that you ever made, Pike?
Um, well, um, Having somebody dismissed from the
Yeah.
company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something that you can never get used to, no matter how long you've been a manager.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Mahirap talaga. And especially if, yung nakasama mo yung tao and
Mhm.
then, 'di ba, I
Yeah.
mean, one bonding is one thing, but that person sometimes, 'di ba, there are like situations na nag-contribute siya, and then
Mhm.
of course, yun nga when that person contributed, that person also made a contribution to your success as a
Mhm.
manager. That was, during this time, okay, during the pandemic, there were a lot of managers who had to make those tough decisions.
Yeah. So, syempre, may isip mo rin na um, the people who financially depend on that person, yung mga ganun.
Okay, so there's a follow-up question from one of our viewers. Okay, so Raylene Angela Manankil. Okay, so thank you for this question. So, as a manager, how do you prevent the high turnover rate of employees how do you prevent the high turnover of employees? Okay, and then how do you save costs in hiring and training new ones?
Mm. Okay. Well, I guess the answer to that, I will just base it on my experience. I'm not sure what industry you're in, pero sa amin kasi, if there are people who are not utilized fully, so there are times that they have to do something else to be able to save costs on hiring people, new people. So let's say, Chris, you work for me and I can see na all throughout the day, every day, your productivity is only 60%. So maybe I can have you uh, do something else
Mm-hmm.
to fully utilize the 40%. Yun. So instead of hiring another person who we will dedicate to do what I will assign to you. So yun.
So, ito kasi yung high turnover, it really
Mhm.
is dependent on a lot of factors.
Yeah.
So, but for me, kasi as an HR practitioner also, what I would do is I would compute the turnover rate and then compare it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
compare it with last year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe compare it with the last 3 years, okay? And then let's see if it's at a level not tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second is I would also I would look at like the reasons why
Mm-hmm.
employees are resigning.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, so like sometimes if there are many reasons, okay, like if they are looking for greener pastures, okay, I will probably look at our incentive program, the compensation that we're offering, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Because why are they jumping to another company?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. Okay. Actually, that's the number one reason why people resign. The number two reason is because they hate their manager. so so we would have to look at the reasons why people are resigning within the organization. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to also, but when you look at it from a statistical point of view, okay, not that we're trying to be highfalutin, but if you have that data, you would see that certain months there is high turnover
Mm-hmm.
talaga. What are these months? Okay. Always after Holy Week, people resign. Okay, because uh, this is actually like parang the first to second quarter, nakuha na nila yung kanilang 13th month. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
dumating yung January, okay, and then nagbakasyon sila, nag-reflect sila. So pagdating ng Holy Week, okay, nag-reflect na naman sila. And then pagpasok nila, boom, may decision na sila na mag-resign sila.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pwedeng ganon. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, to add dun sa unang sinabi mo, Chris, so let's say you have to check yung attrition ng last 3 years. So kung malaki yung pinagkaiba, then we have to identify what changed in the
yes.
organization during those 3 years. And same thoughts then about the high turnover rate. Kasi, people have different goals kasi. I mean, people leave the company so they can move to another who will pay them more, or people leave because toxic yung environment nila, and then lilipat sila to another company with a less toxic environment, even if mas mababa ng konti yung sweldo, or mas less yung workload. So kumbaga parang I don't believe in employer loyalty. People are loyal to their goals. So
Yes.
if they think that their goal they won't be able to meet their personal goal from their current employer. So even if mabait yung boss, even if they're paid well, even if hindi naman sila loaded with work, aalis talaga pa rin talaga sila.
That's a quotable quota.
Mhm.
People are loyal to their goals. Okay,
Mhm.
not to any person in the
Mhm.
organization.
Yeah.
Okay, kasi you got professional, so I don't think that well, it would actually take a lot for them to be loyal to a person
Mhm.
or the company. So we just have like as an HR practitioner, we come up with programs to be able to retain not everyone, but the one that are most useful to the company.
Mhm.
Okay? Kasi itong most useful to the company, these are the productive people. Of
Mhm.
course, kung hindi naman sila productive, we have our own, 'di ba, policies about that, yung mga performance management, etc. So, these are all in sync to funnel, okay, and to be able to manage attrition. Yun. So, anyhow, okay, so it will take us another episode to talk about high attrition. But I like what I agree with what Pike has said. Okay, people are really, goal oriented, and of course, our goals change every year or every month. Okay, so people that resignations, okay, no matter how good your compensation packages are or how good your there will be always resignation. Ang ano lang dyan is monitor it and then yeah, have like a historical data and then be able to track what change. Yun, tama yung sinabi ni Pike.
Mhm.
So, do you believe in so you've been also in, recruiting your people. So, what do you look for in a person when you recruit?
Teka, that's kind of broad. Pero
Oo.
siguro it will depend on the role that has to be filled in.
Mhm.
So, pero usually, well, for one, what the first thing that I look for is, syempre, competence. So, competency. So, syempre, the first thing that I look for is, can the person do the job? Is he the person for the job? Does he have the certain skill to do these and those? So, second is, if the person is uh, likely to leave us soon or not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the reasons for wanting to be part of your organization is important.
Mm,
Kasi that
yeah.
would give you like an indication perhaps on, how kasi depende yan eh. Kasi like there are people, imagine if you're talking to somebody who says basta meron lang pong trabaho, that would
Oh.
be like maybe that will be a red flag for a lot of
Mm,
recruiters kasi what happens if somebody comes along that can
mm,
offer more yon.
yeah. Kaya nga ano parang even if the person is, let's say, the person has great credentials, he's applying for a team lead, pero director pala siya dati. So, kumbaga, even if I don't have any reason not to hire him, parang I will see him as a potential attrition kasi what if naghihintay lang, may pending application siya sa iba na as a director
Mhm.
and he's applying for a team lead just to get by with his bill. So, kumbaga, parang, even if you're all over, I mean, to me, sa akin lang, I don't know with the other managers, pero being overqualified is kind of a red flag to me.
Yes, well, there are, being overqualified, it really depends. Kasi there are some, yes, I would imagine being a recruiter also, I
Mhm.
would imagine that that's a red flag.
Mhm.
Because, yun nga, hindi naman talaga sinasabi sa'yo kung may pending application. Okay.
Mhm.
Also, kasi, what I would ask is, what attracted that person to the company?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oo.
Yeah,
Yun,
siguro, yeah, it will depend kung ano yung sasabihin niya to
oo.
that question.
Oo. So I usually ask that question, okay? Kasi importante sa akin malaman bakit siya a-apply to the company. Okay.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
me,
I was asked the same question um, when I shifted from operations management to project
I
management.
was asked the same question as well. Oh, kasi I was in HR and then this one is it's more of a line management role. So I was asked the same. And then well, my reason actually is very sincere because I'm really scared of COVID and I'm looking for a company, okay, that will somehow maintain my salary level. Okay, and then would also be work from home forever. Because for me, I think this kind of setup was the ideal. Yon.
Mhm.
So that's how I answered it. And I think that you have to answer that question, in the most authentic and most
Yeah.
sincere way possible.
Yeah, ako din, when I was asked that question, sabi ko is, um, I didn't really want to leave the operations management, but I'm not getting any younger and domestic responsibilities are kicking in, and we all know uh, how demanding the job is of an OM. So, kumbaga, I have to shift to something where I can use the skills that I acquired.
Yes. And then of course right now, okay, things are very dynamic kasi
Mhm.
recruitment is busy because people are shifting from office base to work from home and
Mhm.
work from home to office base. So I think it has something to do also with finding the right, finding the right well, a lot of factors, compensation
Mhm.
package, company culture, etc. Okay. So, what are your thoughts about toxic bosses? Are you a toxic boss, Pike?
No. No. Kumbaga, parang I'm just very direct.
Uh,
Pero, basing on the last feedback that I got when I was an operations manager, I'm one of the most amiable.
mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, well, yeah,
Ayun.
actually, I believe that because yes, you are straightforward, but but I think you're amiable, and I think you're very relaxed and very it's like really we don't really complicate our conversation.
Yeah. So, ayun. So, what was your question again?
So, what's your opinion about toxic bosses?
Um, well, depending on how toxic, I try to understand that the pressure above him might not be pretty, which is why it manifests on how he deals with me. Pero to me, um, no matter how toxic he is, if he can back up everything you tell him with facts, I think the so if you could back everything up with facts, no amount of toxicity from your boss can affect you. Kasi kung toxic siya, and then for example, sinabi niya sa akin na bakit wala pa tong ganito, bakit hindi pa nagagawa to. Kung ang reason ko naman is valid, like let's say may iba siyang pinagawa sa akin kaya hindi ko nagawa to, then hindi ko naman mahahati yung sarili ko sa dalawa to be able to do the two things that he asked me to do. So, one has to go first. So, ayun. So, kumbaga, to me, tsaka, when being, with my years of working, I've learned the art of, may pag nadinig mo dito, labas kagad sa kabila.
Correct. Okay.
Yung
So,
alam mo yung manihid ka na.
well, that's the term. Actually, for me, kasi this is what of course, okay, people, there's always naman a bonus point if somebody is diplomatic, okay, and is poised, okay. So kumbaga a person chooses his or her words, okay, okay yan sa akin. But there are certain people they can't, okay, especially if they are in a tight situation. Okay, so I've dealt with a lot of big personalities as bosses. So there's always a reason why they are like that. Yun lang yung sinasabi ko sa sarili ko.
Yeah.
And then, yun nga, parang minsan tumatawa ka na lang kasi sometimes you encounter somebody who's really a caricature when they are mad. They are so toxic that it's a caricature already. So, ginagawa ko na lang, tinatawa ko na lang yan. Okay? So, yun.
Yeah,
Tsaka,
okay lang. Sa akin, okay lang ang toxic basta walang personalan.
correct. Okay.
Yeah.
so actually, toxic is how, well, it's based on your definition of toxicity. Yeah. Kasi yung iba, konti lang toxic na.
I mean, nautusan lang toxic na. Nasabihan lang nasa susunod, wag ganito, toxic na. So,
kasi syempre boss yan, so maybe there will be a point in your relationship habang tumatagal ka sa company, okay, may masasabi siya, but just be rest assured, basta wag lang personalan, so okay lang yun. And then namura na rin ako many times. Ang dati, I would really throw a tantrum pag minura. Kasi pag meron akong boss, actually, friend ko na siya ngayon, okay, through the years. Pero yung kami, minura niya ako, nagalit ako, sabi ko, didemand na kita. Pero wag nyo gawin yon kasi after 3 days, pinagbati kami nung EVP. Okay. So, pero yung mas bata ako, syempre pag minura ka, kasi yun, grabe talaga. Parang tuloy-tuloy na mura yung inabot ko. It was because the situation was, nag-collaborate ako with somebody, like a VP, na hate niya. So, nagalit siya sa akin. Yun yung situation. So, parang nadamay lang ako. Okay. But actually, after 3 days, pinagbati na rin kami. Kasi sabi ko, nag-file ako ng incident report sa HR. Tapos, pero ngayon, nag-uusap pa rin kami. Okay? Wala naman. That's all in the past now. Okay? Okay. So, anyway, okay. So Pyke, for young managers or for newly promoted managers, what can you advise them?
Well, aside from the presentation that I did earlier, and plus the things that we spoke about, if there's another thing that I have to add is, don't try to please everybody. I mean, if you're a manager, you have to make tough decisions. There will be conflict. There will be people who won't agree with your methods. There will be people who will question your motives. So just stay calm and relax if you know you're doing the right thing. Don't be affected by what people will think of you, because if you get affected by what your people think of you, then you are letting them control you.
Well, I agree with that one. So that's why, well, first of all, if you are a leader, I agree with Pyke. The moment that you accept the job of a manager, everything is now going to be your fault. So you better prepare for that kind of work, because well, it will now be your responsibility and it is now your accountability, because that's what a manager is. It's not just a position, it's not just a title, it's actually a role. And to be able to do that role in the organization, you have to know the business. You have to know your people. That's the summary of our discussion. Know the business, know the people. Also upskill yourself, okay, to be able to cope with the times. And what else? Well, steady ka lang, okay? You
Mhm.
kailangan decisive ka, okay? And then be able to make the tough calls. So that's actually what a manager is. So we're talking about being a manager. Now, to be a leader, that's another thing, okay? Yeah, that's another that's another level, okay? Because being a leader is somebody that is emulated and somebody that is trusted in the organization, and that's why your scale, your influence, your level of influence
And that's
actually
why
goes
stay
up as you are promoted and as you collaborate with other people internally and externally. So that's the difference between a leader and a manager. And that's the difference between, managers and, HR manager and line managers. So anyway, Pike, any parting words, okay, for our viewers?
Um, well, it's nice. It was nice to be here. Thank you for having me. This is my second time. Um, Sorry if I haven't been active like what I used to be. Kasi I work at night now, so and all the things that happen here happen during the day. So which is the time that I'm asleep. So, but I would love to participate again when the chance uh, allows me allows me to.
Well,
So
anyway, as you said, okay, so we have our goals during this time, and I understand that most of our members and our moderators are also dealing with well, of course, there are things that we don't talk about in social media, Pike. So I guess we are all dealing with, coping with the pandemic.
yeah, uh,
And then coping with a new job is also something else, but it's always a pleasure to have you. Okay, so it's your
thank
second
you.
time, and we are actually on well, we've just wrapped up our second year. Our
Yeah.
anniversary is like first week of November. So that's why we're also well, gearing up for changes and certain twists in the Facebook page and also in our YouTube channel. So here. So nice to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so to
Thank
our
you.
viewers, thank you for joining us. Okay, for joining us on a Sunday afternoon. And I hope that you do keep on sending us your questions and your feedback so that we are able to deal or delve on topics that you request. Okay, so have a nice Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend and have a productive week ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
During the pandemic, why don't you upskill in the comforts of your own home? Improve and add more certificates in your resume. Simple, direct, easy. Visit the playlist in our YouTube channel. Browse through our videos and choose the video that interests you. Send in your requests for a particular video and we will send back the certificate via email. Watch this full video for the details.